Hi everyone, welcome back to another brand new episode of our project series. So today we'll be talking about Zyon Grand. Previously we shared on the River Valley midpoint updates, right? So today we'll be sharing more on the sneak preview as well. And we are also excited to be able to share with you guys more on Zyon Grand, whether or not this is a smart move or a risk of oversupply. We will be identifying all of this in today's video, so stay tuned to find out.
So today we are actually going to talk about the plot land sale price, because down here there's actually quite a few plots, and how the developers of Zyon Grand are going to price it. And by doing so, we are hoping that we can find some value buys in the process. So we are going to discuss a bit more on the service apartment component, because this is quite unique in the area. If you see other plots like Promenade Peak, River Green, or as well as River Modern, they don't have this service apartment feature.
Yeah, so as usual, we'll dive into the layouts and compare them with the recently launched projects. We find this actually quite important because there's an increase of supply, right? So we can determine the right entry price as well as to make sure that this is a good layout. Because when it comes to the resale market, we want to make sure that this is something that is easy to exit.
So without further ado, let us begin. So Zyon Grand is located in the heart of District 3, which is Queenstown and Tiong Bahru over here. Though it's located in District 3 and not in District 9 such as River Green, we have noticed that by being in the River Valley area and the district itself is not so important, because if you are located in District 9 but at the area of Mackenzie, right, where the nearest MRT station is like Little India, then it becomes less of a concern on the district itself, but the location you are actually looking at. And in this case, Zyon Grand is just at the edge of District 9, right above Havelock MRT, hence making this project very favorable among buyers who are looking into the River Valley area.
For Zyon Grand has the lowest land cost among all the recent GLS as shown. So I think we've touched on this in our previous video. So if you haven't watched, make sure to watch our previous video. And what is really interesting is that during the GLS, there is only one bid. And this was because there's a service apartment component. So in the end, the developer that won the bid was CDL and Mitsui Fudosan. So I think maybe a lot will find it very strange. Why is there only one developer bidding? So we think that the real reason behind this is because of the service apartment component. The developer who wins this plot not only has to build the residential component, but they have to maintain and continue with the service apartment component. Yeah.
So I think that if you're the developer, right, and you have to spend a lot of money, you'll be expecting immediate profits. So you can do that with the residential towers, but not so much with the service apartment. And this explains why the land cost bid is lower as compared to the rest of the other River Valley projects. Because imagine that you will have to build this component and not be able to reap the rewards immediately. It's like paying yourself but slowly over time. And it also requires a different kind of skill set in order to do that. And they are more than capable to do so because actually they've been managing other projects like Grand Copthorne Hotel, Copthorne King, as well as M Hotel. So they have the expertise to do so.
And secondly, it will be that CDL did buy the land cheaper than its neighbors, but it's unlikely that they will sell it much cheaper based on these factors. So I think it's likely that they will price similar to Promenade Peak's PSF, and maybe building slightly bigger sizes than River Green, which we will touch on that later. Moving on, we'll be talking about the service apartment, which this is actually a lot of concerns that buyers do have. So I think a lot of buyers also have this type of questions regarding the service apartment, and we thought that we will hit it onto this and help to clarify as much as possible. So the very first question is, will this affect me if I'm buying Zyon Grand as an investor looking to rent out the unit? So in our opinion, we highly doubt that this will be an issue because with Singapore's regulation, the state for private properties, there is a minimum period of 3 months consecutively, and typically most landlords will prefer to rent it out for minimally a year or ideally 2 years to ensure that there's a stable income to help them to pay for their monthly mortgage. So whereas for the service apartments, right, requires guests to rent for a minimum of 6 nights, which is the bare minimum. Unlike hotels who charge by nightly itself, so looking at this chart, you will be able to see between a hotel and a service apartment, the price is actually somewhat similar. But what you get at the service apartment is the additional space such as your dining area, a living room, and a kitchenette that hotels typically do not have.
So based off this price, right, today if I'm a foreigner with a valid pass of at least 6 months, I will most likely be able to rent directly from a private residence instead of a service apartment. But of course, as a tourist, that option would not be viable for me, and I will actually have limited choices. So this is more of a price support, helping to push the rental prices in comparison to service apartments. Hence, it's really not a threat towards investors. And moving forward, for the second question, will the service apartment cause this development to have high traffic flow of tourists? Well, this development is with commercial on the first floor, such as supermarket, restaurants, and even a childcare center itself. So indeed, there will already be some footfall within this development, and it won't come as a shock if you're a buyer in this area. As for convenience, it's also inevitable because there'll be more people. So we want to highlight that the service apartment, right, the guests will not have any access to Zyon Grand's facilities and will actually have a separate entrance. So this is to facilitate better traffic flow between the service apartment and the residential towers.
Talking about the River Valley supply, as you can see, there is a total of 5 plots in this area, namely Zyon Grand, River Green, Promenade Peak, River Modern, and River Valley Parcel C. So with Zyon Grand plots being the biggest and more of a regular shape, as you can see from here, compared to River Green and River Modern, where the plot is a bit more longish. So from experience, bigger plan plots of regular size tend to have better site plans. As a result, see better appreciation over time. So adding it all to summarize, we are estimating about 2,800 units to be launched and TOP within the same 1 to 2 years down the road.
So is there really a situation of oversupply? Well, I think that with this sudden increase of supply is very real. It's not like we're going to bullshit and say there's not a lot of supply, and this is a very real thing, but we do feel that this fear is actually more towards the developer side. Because with this sudden increase of supply, it means that they also have the fear that it cannot be sold, all the units, which is why if you have dreams of staying in the CCR region, in the River Valley area, this is now the best time to do it. So currently, if you are looking at the prices previously, the prices of the neighboring projects are actually slightly higher and bigger. So there are 2 bedrooms that can go up to 800, 900 or 1,000 square feet. And even though the PSF is slightly lower, we are looking at a very big quantum, which makes it very hard for families in the OCR area to move towards the central region. So for me, right, I feel that this is the best chance to enter the market because the price is right. And if you're buying for your own stay, this is even better because still the price will appreciate over time, and this is still CCR after all.
Yeah, coming back to the supply issue, I think that definitely we acknowledge that there is a high supply, but most importantly is the price that we enter. So we've seen the pricing strategy for River Green, and River Green is using a quantum play. So PSF is high, but units are really small, whereas for Promenade Peak, we noticed that the PSF started at a low price of about 2,800 plus per square feet, but the sizes are built bigger. So if you look at it this way, how we see Zyon Grand now in comparison, it's kind of like a hybrid. So we think that it's made possible that with this hybrid, right, we will talk more about the price later at the end. So do continue to watch. So you'll be quite surprised with what Zyon Grand has to offer.
So next, we will be showing you where Zyon Grand is actually located. So Zyon Grand itself is located at 3 and 5 Kim Seng Road, which is over here. So as for the show flat itself, right, it's right beside 79 Indus Road along this corner. So after viewing the show flat, right, if you have time, you can just drive or walk down and you can actually see the Zyon Grand site right after your show flat viewing.
As for connectivity wise, you have direct access to Havelock MRT on the Thomson East Coast Line, where it connects you seamlessly to almost everywhere. And just a drive down the road, it brings you to the Orchard area where all your shopping havens are at. So as for the connectivity that we are mentioning, if you do take taxis or even drive, the expressway are actually located very near to you. You have your CTE, AYE, and MCE. And as for public transport, we did mention that Zyon Grand has direct access to Havelock MRT. So we are just a mere stop away from Outram Park, where Singapore General Hospital campus is located nearby. And going to the opposite direction, you have Great World City or Orchard Interchange, and also the MBFC where the CBD area is. So with all that said, right, these are actually where your future pool of tenants are, and Zyon Grand is very hard to be missed lah. So I'm sure that tenants will definitely want to stay there as well.
And besides that, Zyon Grand is actually 62 levels, right? So it's actually very high up and it's surely not one to be missed. So did you know while we are not located at Great World MRT for your daily needs, Zyon Grand actually will come with its own supermarket and F&B shops for the residents' convenience right at your doorstep. So you don't have to travel or drive all the way to Great World and carry everything home. And then we are also a 3 minutes drive away from Robertson Quay, where you'll find your various dining options. And 5 minutes down, you have Tiong Bahru area, which you can get all your daily necessities as well as all your hawker fares. So it'll be an 8-minute drive to Orchard, where your shopping haven is at, and 7 minutes to Zyon Riverside Food Centre, where all your local delights are. And for nature lovers, right, 5 minutes drive to Alexander Park Connector.
And for all parents out there, in terms of education, you do not have to worry, because over here we have notably River Valley Primary School, which is only within 1 km, and that's very important for parents because it helps you to enroll into the school. Apart from that, we have Alexandra Primary School and Zhongde Primary School. So for secondary school, we have a couple as well. It's not really far away, and in fact, if you are taking the train, we have a client that's actually looking to have their kids study nearby. So you don't have to beat the traffic in the morning because it's very accessible by train. So this area is actually very livable and a very ideal location because it's somewhere between school and also towards the CBT. So from a young kid all the way to teenager and even to an adult, you have everything that's planned in that area. So despite being in the central, right, you also have your coffee shops, which I think most of us need from a day-to-day basis. So I think this is very ideal.
Okay, so moving on, more information on Zyon Grand. This is a joint development between CDL and Mitsu Fudosan Group. So the developers themselves have already developed a lot of residential buildings in Singapore, and they are very reputable. So with that said, Zyon Grand actually has 2 blocks of 62-story and 1 tower of 36-story long stay service apartment with restaurant, supermarket, and an early childhood development center. So the tenure itself is from 2024 and it's a 99-year lease. So just take note of that. And the expected vacant possession would be 2032. So the land area is approximately 15,277 and a total of 706 units in Zyon Grand itself. There will be an estimated 565 car park lots, excluding 5 accessible lots. And for the commercial side, there will be 30 lots. And the Zyon Grand will also come with 177 bicycle lots.
At our unit mix, we have 1 bedroom plus study, 2 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 2 bath, and 2 plus study. So this is a total of about 42% of units out of the 706. So for 3 bedroom, we have the 3 bedroom deluxe, and a 3 plus study. For 4 bedroom, we have 4 bedroom premium, 4 supreme, 4 supreme plus study. And there will be 1 stack of 5 bedroom supreme as well as 2 5-bedroom penthouses.
So if you notice, right, there's actually a slight shift away from mostly 1 or 2 bedrooms. So they actually increased the units for 3 bedrooms, which is very important. Because if it's for your own stay, right, that's where 3 bedroom is where you see the highest appreciation. So this will really help push the future prices up in the resale market. And as for the 4 and 5 bedroom as well as penthouse units, all these units will come with private lift.
Actually the past track records for the developers. So CDL, right, they have developed Awell Hill Residence and Boulevard 88. So these are some of the few examples we are giving. As for Mitsui Fudosan, they develop more towards the Tokyo, Japan area. So you have Midtown Yesu and also the 50 Hudson's Yard in the New York City.
These are the artist impressions for Zyon Grand. It consists of 2 residential towers, which is the taller ones you see over here, and they will be 62 stories. And then the shorter block will be the service apartment, which is 36 stories. So below down here, right, you can see this is where the restaurant, childcare center, as well as the supermarkets will be. And what we find really iconic is that most of these new launches nowadays, right, you notice it's all very rectangular and just very straight lines mostly. So for this one, right, you can see they took inspiration from an orchid flower inspired by the curve and petals. So actually, it's very nice to have along such an iconic building. So this is like on the facade, and it's really very unique. And this will not actually compromise the layouts at all, which we will see later. So there are actually quite a lot of projects you'll notice. They are very nice on the outside, they are circular. But when you look at the floor plan, right, it's also curved. So this is actually very strange because it's very hard for you to put your furniture and design what you want to go around the house. And you end up wasting extra space and you have to custom furniture for all these odd layouts. So I think this is something really smart. They actually managed to achieve this design without compromising the layout. And I think also this is something that is quite iconic. So they are actually in the middle of the road juncture, and anyone who drive past the River Valley area will definitely be able to see this building.
Yeah, so actually for me personally, when we go down to the River Valley area, right, all I see is Great World, because Great World, has 2 sharp buildings. So the rest are like very normal, nothing memorable about it lah. So anything that you go past is just another condo. Yeah, but I'm sure that once Promenade Peak and Zyon Grand is up, right, it's very obvious already, because one is actually 62 stories and another is 63. So it's gonna be very iconic that you go down River Valley area, you can see that 2 tall towers standing over there. Yeah, so this is something that you don't want to miss. And when people are in the resale market thinking of shopping around this area, right, definitely they will not want to miss the chance to look at this condo. Yeah, so most of the areas we note in River Valley, actually, the stories ranges between from 30th to 40ish plus lah. So later on, we'll show you the overall map view where you can get a better opinion on that as well.
So right here are the artist impressions of the inside of Zyon Grand. So you can see it will come with a 50-meter lap pool, as well as other alcove pools that will be around the development itself. And of course, a spacious gym and a functions room where you can host your dinner. So there will be no lack of amenities for the residents to use in this in Zyon.
Right now, we'll be showing you the overview of what's nearby Zyon Grand and Zyon Grand itself. So when we note that we are facing the upwards direction, they are actually your 1+ study ranging towards your 3-bedroom deluxe itself. So your views will actually be the high-rise city. So if you are facing the Great World City, right, it's estimated to be about 35 story. And also for your Centennial Suites, they are about 33 stories itself. So over here, wherever you go, right, you actually see a lot of high-rise building. And facing downwards direction, there will be actually our 3 to 5 bedroom itself. So your views are actually the lower rise buildings, with the highest notably to be the Holiday Inn, estimated to be about 27 story. So if you are someone who cares about scenic views, then a very safe bet is to purchase something that is above level 30. So do take note that the 4-bedroom Supreme Plus Study with private lift series to the penthouse starts from the 44th floor to the 62nd floor.
We are now showing you how the views are like when you're standing on the 40th and 60th floor. So these are the differences. So here are the images for your reference. For north facing, right, like we have mentioned, all these are the smaller bedroom types which will face towards Great World City, Ion Orchard, and the River Valley Primary School. And where else the south facing will be towards CBD and a little bit of Sentosa. So all these you will get to see more of the building itself. And when you reach the 60th floor, right, here's the differences. You'll basically oversee the north side, the entire area of what we have mentioned. And you will also get to see the Sea View and Sentosa area from the south side. So if you are buying 4-bedroom, right, you'll get to enjoy this kind of luxury.
On to the site plan, we have two blocks, block 3 and block 5. So at block 3, we have the 2-bedroom all the way to the 5-bedroom and penthouse. As for block 5, we have the 1-bedroom plus study all the way up to 4-bedroom supreme with private lift. Yeah, so what you notice here is actually there are 6 stacks on each block, but both blocks also have one stack that has the private lift. So this means that effectively only 5 units are sharing the lifts, and that's actually quite low density as compared to what we have seen previously at River Green and Promenade Peak, where you have about 12 to 15 units on the same floor sharing the same lift. So I think it's quite intense lah. No matter how many lifts you put, even if you put 6 lifts, which they do, there is still a lot of neighbors on the same floor. So I think at this point, Zyon Grand really stands out.
Yeah, so over here in Zyon Grand, right, it's actually also elevated. So the start of level 2 is actually approximately 22 meters above ground for the first unit. So there will also be a separate drop-off area for the residents as well as the service apartments. And there will also be a provision of tennis court. And this tennis court will actually have markings for pickleball, which is very famous nowadays. So the developer actually has very smartly been able to make use of the space to cater to the interests of all the residents. And of course, there will be multiple swimming pool as well as facilities which we can share with you more details when you view the show flat with us.
Something very worth mentioning is that Zyon Grand's development has been angled in a way that it maximizes their view. So if you notice that these two blocks actually doesn't block each other, unlike other projects. So they kind of have a few units that have block view, but for this Zyon Grand itself, it's completely unblocked. So they are not facing or blocking each other. So in fact, it's actually tilted. So it's very likely that they will not be fully blocked by Promenade Peak, which is also a very high building. So this is really something quite smart lah. And because they are angled, they are not facing the west sun directly. So just to refresh your memory, if you remember River Green, it's in the layout of the site plan that a few units are actually affected by the west sun. And as for Promenade Peak, it's also quite typical. The smaller units will get impacted by the west sun. But apart from that, the 3-bedroom, which is also quite highly sought after, the 1033 and 1076 at Promenade Peak, the one without the private lift, because it's at a very sweet quantum, a very decent size, the only setback is that it has full west sun.
Yeah. So I mean, we have some clients, right, they're okay with west sun because they already live in a unit that has west sun. But then we have some clients that is strictly no, they cannot accept west sun. But even if the price is right, the layout is good, the location is fantastic, and then there's still west sun, they will say no. So this is something that you have to consider, whether you're willing to accept it or not. And because Zyon Grand, all the units are actually anchored, for this project, there won't be much of an issue, and I think it's fine. But if your entire row of house is actually facing west, then it's really very hot lah. So it's not very ideal.
Now we'll be talking about the 1-bedroom for Zyon Grand. So this is actually the A1S, which is about 474 square feet. So this is actually in stack 11 in block 3. And then we noted, right, for the 1 plus study, it will actually be facing the Promenade Peak, but it's not like head on lah. So it's actually tilted slightly at an angle, which potentially has an unblocked view itself. And we note that when we come in for this, you'll be greeted by the open concept kitchen. And then there's tilted right in, there's actually a small corner for your study area lah. But one thing to take note for this, right, for this 1 plus study, it doesn't come with a balcony. So this is something that buyers can take note of.
So we'll be moving on to the 2-bedroom. And for the 2-bedroom, these are the unit mix itself. So there'll be 3 types, B1, BP1, and BP2S. So the total units respectively are 59, 59, and 118. And this actually comes in at stack 5, 12, 4, and 10. So for the size itself, right, for B1 is actually 538 square feet and BP1 is 646 square feet. And BP2S is at 721 square feet. So for B1, right, it's actually a 2-bed, 1-bath. BP1 is actually a 2-bed, 2-bath. And BP2S is actually a 2-bed, 2-bath plus study. So with the kitchen itself, we'll be showing you a bit which are the open concept and which are enclosable. Here we have the overview of the 2-bedroom. So for the 2-bed plus 1-bath, it's actually a dumbbell layout, which you can see over here. Whereas for the 2-bed, 2-bath, right, it's actually a traditional layout. And the 2 plus study is also a dumbbell layout as well. So like we've mentioned just now, the 2-bed, 1-bath and the 2-bed, 2-bath, the normal one, both will come with an open concept kitchen, whereby the DB box is actually tucked in somewhere around here. So for the 2 plus study itself, it comes with an enclosable kitchen where you have the option to do it enclosed if you do a lot of heavy cooking. So basically this means there's actually something for everyone out there depending on your preference of layout. And this type of layout is actually very functional because there's minimum wasted space. And one more thing for you to note, right, for type BP1 at the 646 square feet, the master bedroom actually comes with a ventilation window. So it's very good for people who want good ventilation. And because small unit types usually don't have this. So in fact, actually, I feel that the 2-bed, 2-bath kind is made for its own stay because at this quantum, it's going to be quite affordable. And with ventilation, I also feel it's made for own stay rather than a rental kind of situation.
Moving on to the 3-bedroom unit types, there's a total of 4 types of 3 bedrooms ranging from a compact 818 square feet all the way up to a 1076 square feet, which is the 3-bed, 3-bath. So there are 2 stacks of the 861 square feet and only 1 stack of the others. So what we feel that about this 861 unit, right, is probably a very sweet spot for upgraders. So from the official price guide, the 861 square feet unit is expected to launch at about 2,750 PSF, which translates to about 2.27 million. So this is actually something quite attainable if you stay in a high value HDB like in Tiong Bahru or even Dawson area and want to move towards a lifestyle area. So at 2.2 is something that doesn't really break the bank compared to like if you want to stay at a 3-bedroom, typically it will go up to maybe about 3 million. So by building this size, right, it's actually open up new opportunities for more upgraders. Yeah, and if you are looking at the 1,076 square feet, the starting price is at 2,785 PSF. So that is about 2.938 million. And the main difference between these 2 unit types would be the kitchen layouts are slightly different. There's actually ventilation in the kitchen with the bigger unit types. Yeah. So if you are estimating about 3,000 PSF, the price difference of about 130,000. Yeah, so personally, we feel that with this price difference it's actually worth paying because you get a proper kitchen instead of the gallery kitchen style. Yeah, and it's quite typical that families nowadays prefer this kind of layout because with kids they would prefer to cook. And if you are looking to buy the 3-bedroom compact, it doesn't have those features and it's also a gallery kitchen. So I think this unit type might be something that will be missed out on. Yeah, so I think in this case, the upgrade of about 130,000 to buy the bigger unit will be the preferred layout.
Okay, so now moving on to the bigger 3-bedroom unit type that comes with the study. The developer has actually cleverly put the study in the living room. So this actually gives you an option to either use it as a study or to make your living room bigger. So the main difference between these 2 unit types, right, after we have scrutinized, I will just highlight it for you. The difference is actually just the length. So there is the living room, one of it is 5.6 meters and the other will be 6 meters. So while it's actually nice to have a slightly bigger living room, I actually have calculated a price. And for an additional living room space, right, it will cost you about $63,000. So it really depends what is your options available during the balloting and what your ballot number is. So it will mean that about 5 to 6 floor jump based on this top part itself. And in this case, you will have to decide whether the jump is worth it or not. So between 30 and 35, right, you can probably see past the next building. Because assuming if you're choosing between level 30 and 35, right, I will actually prioritize the height. Because you might actually see 35 floor past a certain building. So after that, we have to see which facing and what we are going to be facing. But once we are past, say, level 40, right, an additional 5 floors, then the view will not differ too much already. And I would value space more. So this is really dependent on what is available at that time. And during the booking, it can be actually quite intense to make such decisions. So it's very important to be clear on what you want. And we can actually help you select the unit very quickly and proceed with the booking. So because in this intense situation, when you're suddenly thrown into this kind of situation, you might not know what to choose. From the naked eye, it looks all the same. So I think it will be, you have to go and think through whether it's worth the premium or not. And this is something to take note of. So if you guys are still actually confused on which to choose, please feel free to reach out to either of us and we'll be happy to assist you.
On to the 4 bedrooms, there are actually 3 types of 4 bedders. All comes with a private lift. So the smallest unit type for the 4 bedroom is 1,421 square feet. Then 1,518 square feet, and the biggest one at 1,615 square feet. Yep. So all of these are enclosed kitchen. So the main difference for the 1,421 square feet and the 1,518 square feet is actually the dry kitchen area, where the rest are actually somewhat the same lah. The biggest 4-bedder itself, the 1,615 square feet one, comes with an additional study that I quite like, because it can actually serve as a dresser or makeup corner, or even an additional wardrobe space itself. So actually for this small area, right, next time, if you have kids or baby, this can be actually used as a baby cot area. So, you are in the same room, you can easily attend to the baby at night. Yeah. But for the 4-bedroom unit, I would prefer that if there's actually an option for ensuite Jack and Jill bathroom for the 2 common rooms lah. Yeah, which I think if there is this option, it actually makes the layout more perfect.
So last but not least, we'll touch on the 5-bedroom, which is at 1,819 square feet. And this kind of gives you a dumbbell kind of feeling when you step out of your private lift lobby over here. Whereas you have a dry kitchen over here as well. So for the kitchen, the wet kitchen itself is actually enclosed over here, and it comes with a very big balcony. So for the balcony itself, you can actually access it through bedroom 5. And this one, right, for the living room itself and the dining, it actually gives you a very spacious kind of living area that comes together. And for the master bedroom, we also noted that there's a very huge area over here where you can put your small wardrobe or your dressing table. So this gives you ample foot space or space to place all your furniture everywhere around the unit, as well as the walk-in wardrobe. So right after you shower, you can just come out and change immediately lah. So it's actually a very good layout for a 5-bedroom.
You guys actually heard a lot about how we talk about River Green doing the quantum play and Promenade Peak being lower PSF, and how Zyon Grand is somewhat of a hybrid ride. So now we actually put out the numbers to show you. So if you see River Green at 603 square feet, which we mentioned is smaller, and you look across the table, which are at 657, 667, and 646, which is Zyon Grand. But River Green being smaller, right, they have very high PSF at about 3,086 PSF. Yeah, so these are actually the average transacted prices. And if you notice for Promenade Peak, the PSF goes down to about 2,882 PSF. So averagely will take about 2,009. But their size is significantly bigger than River Green. And now we fast forward to Zyon Grand, it becomes a hybrid. 646 square feet, somewhat a size that's still very decent, but smaller than Promenade Peak. So if you are using like about 2,950 PSF, is considered quite high PSF compared to Promenade Peak, but we want to compare like apple to apple, right? So the quantum, it's about 1.9 m. So it's actually lower than Promenade Peak, and yet you still get a very decent size unit lah.
Yeah. So basically, if you realize at 2950 PSF, right, we're talking about average mid-floor like that. So we're not even talking about starting from, and it's very likely you will see units about 1.8 M plus, or very highly, a very high 1.7. So just because there are so many stories and it starts from level 2 all the way up, so there's also a chance that we will see cheaper units, and at a bigger size than River Green. So this is something that we are all quite shocked about as well, which is why we have in this analysis, the price has really shocked us lah. But you will actually get the best of both worlds in Zyon Grand.
And for the 3-bedroom, you also notice a similar trend where River Green has 980 square feet unit, but that's a 4-bed, 2-bath to them. But we just take it as like a 3+ study lah. And then for Promenade Peak, we have 1,033 and 1,076 square feet. But these are the units that just now we did mention, the West Sun ones. Yeah, so now where Zyon Grand comes in with 861, is kind of like countering the River Green one. And then also there's also a 1055 to actually match up to Promenade Peaks.
So you have two different kind of layouts, right? And both are at lower prices. So if you compare the 818 with the 980, because of the way they are built so efficiently, you still get a 3-bed, 2-bath. Of course, the room is smaller at River Green, and that's why it's at 980. But you see the quantum, right? For 3-bed, 2-bath, the quantum is only 2.58. So assuming at 3000 PSF for Zyon Grand, you will have 1055 for a 3-bed, 3-bath. So this kind is more suitable for a family kind of profile that needs the unit there. And we also have, if you're looking around about $3 million, which is significantly lower than the 1076 at Promenade Peak. So it's like an in-between the 1033 and the 1076. But with the added element of lower floor spread across 62 stories. So there's also a very good chance you will get something actually sub 3 million for a very decent size and a good layout.
Yeah, so this is something that I think a lot of people who didn't manage to buy River Green and Promenade Peak will be looking out for. Feel free to talk to us. We can actually advise you as to what actually makes sense. So I think in conclusion, Zyon Grand is something that is worth actually looking at. Yeah.
So that's it for us today. Thank you for staying till the end. And if you have any questions or would like to book an appointment with us to view the Zyon Grand show flat, do let us know, do reach out to us through WhatsApp or calling our numbers over here. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. That's it from us. Bye.